So now I'm going to show you what types of supplies you might want to consider to keep on hand to trim goat feet. The first thing that we're going to want to think about is safety. So we're working with live animals that have horns and hooves, and we're working with sharp shears or hoof trimmers. And these can be really scary combinations. So some things that I like to keep on hand are some protective gloves. The difficult part with full leather, fully protective gloves is that it can be hard to maneuver the trimmers and the hooves at the same time. So what I like to use are plastic coated type gardening gloves, and I found that those protect me enough, but I'm still able to use the equipment in the way that I need to use it. Some other things that I keep on hand, I actually have overalls that I use. This helps give me a little bit of protection from getting a horn in my thigh, which hurts really bad. And if I accidentally slip with the trimmers, it'll protect me from cutting my legs. And then you're going to look really dorky while you're doing it, but I've gotten too many hoof trimmings in my eyeball, so I wear clear safety glasses just to protect. So as you're trimming, you've got hoof shards flying everywhere, and this can be really important to protect your eyes. Along with safety first, the next thing that I would consider using is a halter. If you have a stand that you can use to trim feet and perform other activities related to health maintenance on goats, you can use that. But if you don't have a stand, picking up a rope halter and finding a strategic corner can be really helpful. And in our video, we'll show you how you go about putting a halter on and catching a goat. The next thing that I try to keep on hand is just a bucket and some Epsom salts. So sometimes if goats are out on pasture, for example, or in the barn, their hooves might become really dirty over time, and it can make for a really hard situation to try to trim their hooves. So what I do is I usually put about a cup of Epsom salts into a bucket about this size with some very warm, not hot, but very warm water, and I'll let that goat soak her hoof for between 5 and 10 minutes, depending on how bad the hoof is. The other thing too is that if that hoof has any type of hoof rot, ulcer, puncture, the Epsom salts will soothe everything and you're not going to hurt anything. So 10 out of 10 recommend a big bulk bag of Epsom salts when it comes to any type of hoof trimming. The other thing that it does too is it does soften up the hoof. So if you have hooves that might be overgrown, you can actually soak them for even longer, so 15-20 minutes, and it'll help soften that hoof so that you're able to trim it a little bit more efficiently. So up next are the actual hoof trimming tools. So what I have here is a brush and a pick. You can use this to help clean the hoof if you need to, and to help pick any dirt or debris that might be in that hoof. These are a pair of what they call hoof rat shears. They're very heavy duty. They're meant to take off large snaps of hoof at a time. And to be honest, they were made for a man. So these are really hard to navigate depending on the size of your hand and the strength of your forearms. They work really well for some people. They don't work well for other people. Again, these are called hoof rat shears. The good news is that they're heavy duty and they will last forever. I use something that's a little bit smaller. They're just marketed as hoof trimmers. They work better at nipping, and you'll actually see these in use in the video. I do recommend spending a little bit more money on these than kind of what you can find for $10 or $15 at your farm supply store. These ones I think were around $50 or $60, and the blades, you're able to sharpen them over time and they just last a lot longer. So you will get your money's worth if you buy hoof trimmers that maybe are a little bit more expensive. Some other things to keep on hand. This is just some rubbing alcohol that I use to disinfect my hoof trimmers in between goats, so I'm not passing along any type of bacteria, hoof rot infection that might be there from goat to goat, and just keep my trimmers clean. And then plastic gloves. If you're not using protective gloves, sometimes we can get into some nasty hooves that smell bad, and that smell lingers on your hands for days. So plastic gloves can help to protect against that. So sometimes if you're working with a hoof that might have some type of hoof rot or hoof scald or some other type of sore issue, you might want to use a product that contains zinc. Zinc sulfate is in this product that I use. It's a hoof bath, hoof soaking type material. So what I do is I will essentially spray or drip this onto the hoof and keep that hoof off the ground for a few minutes to let it soak in. Zinc is really helpful for any type of hoof issues that we might run into.